To many people, he's known as John the Map. Others, he's John Callanan. And he is a stalwart of so many scenes in Sligo, but mostly the music scene. But the first thing most people will know him for is the maps, John. So, John, firstly, we're going to chat about your maps, and a big welcome to the show. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for giving us your time.
Yes, appreciate it.
Yeah, to the old elbow. So, I think most people may have heard your name and maybe not have seen you or heard from you. So, I suppose to give a little bit of background, like what is your background? Where you originate from, or how did you end up in Sligo eventually?
Well, I'm actually from northwest London.
Okay.
But all my family's from Sligo.
Ah.
So my aunt and uncle had a shop on the Mall called Hennigan's, and my second cousin had a pub on Wine Street, Hennigan's. And I've got family in Collooney and Letterkenny and
so you're
all over the place.
Well rooted in Sligo at this point. And I suppose going back to the John the Map thing, I mean, I came to Sligo a number of years ago and I remember seeing the brochures. So if people have picked up a brochure, a Sligo tourism brochure, you've probably been the guy that has drawn that map years ago.
Well, most of the maps made in the town are either copied off my map or
they are yours original. Yeah. And so you are a cartographer or a map maker, or how would you describe yourself?
Well, cartographers just draw maps.
Okay.
As the name suggests, cart is map, graphy is graphics.
Okay, draw.
So, but I'm actually a map maker. I go to the place, I measure all the streets, I measure all the alleyways, and take note of what's there, and then make a map. So I'm both map maker and cartographer.
Okay, and
I call myself an explorer, but nobody believes that. They know it's nonsense,
No big problem which title it is, as long as they give you the money for the maps, as you.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And you've been all over the world with your map making.
Well, mainly Europe and Asia and America.
Okay, and where did that start? Did you just decide I'm going to such a country, or?
Well, when I was younger, I mean, not much younger, but fairly younger, I used to hitchhike a lot in England and then round Ireland and Scotland and then round Europe. I got to the point where I might be in a party in Norway one week, the next week I might be at a gig in Portugal, the next week I might be in Athens, just hitchhiking around. And then the idea came to me that I was going to go out to Asia and really kind of stretch the whole hitchhiking thing. So I went out to Asia, but ended up in Pakistan on my way to India, found the Karakoram Highway was open, so I decided to go up to China. And then I started mapping the Karakoram Highway, which took 13 years. And
you were telling me that you accidentally kind of started making maps. Where is it, Pakistan?
Yeah, northern
from
Pakistan,
a foot injury or something, was it?
That's right, yeah. Well, the problem was I was in a place called the Hunza Valley, which is basically Ismaili Muslims. They believe the Aga Khan, Prince Karim Aga Khan, the famous racehorse owner, they believe he's the direct descendant of Ali, the fourth caliph, and also son-in-law of Muhammad, because he's married to Muhammad's daughter. But as a result of their connection to him, they don't smoke. So I ran out of smokes in their village, had to run downhill to get me smokes, and dislocated my ankle on the way down. Then through a lot of different stories, I ended up basically for physiotherapy wandering around the valley, and I started drawing a map.
Okay, and you used to draw menus in that before, you were telling me as well. So
drawing menus was a way to make money as you go along.
As you travelled. Yeah. Okay, and that earned you your keep and got you your food.
Sure. Well, you'd be amazed how many restaurants you go into in Asia, and it'd have soap of the day, that sort of thing.
Right, okay.
Soup of the day.
So
and it's just simple things like that,
So once you were kind of stuck in one spot, you said, right, I'll draw some maps.
Precisely, yeah.
And then...
but then it became who I was. I became John the Map,
Yes.
So everywhere I went, I was expected to make a map.
Make maps. And you were glad to do them.
Oh, yeah, I loved it. Well, I only map places I like.
Oh, right, okay. So Sligo's very privileged, though.
Yes, well, no.
To be on the list.
It's a very local place, Sligo.
Yeah, well, and on your travels, I mean, I know Sligo mightn't have been the most exotic place, let's call it, where you went, but there were some places where I know before from reading an article, you got arrested before.
I got arrested quite a lot in Asia.
Okay.
Because some countries are more or less paranoid than others.
Right, and what did they think you were doing?
Well, spying.
They thought you were spying, okay. And how many times did you get arrested?
I was arrested 14 times in total, but only deported once.
Only deported once.
Yes,
okay. So when you got arrested, so it was just maybe overnight or whatever.
Well, you'd be amazed. One time I got arrested by the police who brought this in central Pakistan, the Swat Valley, which was in the news a number of years ago because the Taliban invaded it. But I was invaded there. It's basically part of the Gandharan civilization from the 4th century BC. And I was mapping it from that perspective. But I was brought in by the police and they just left me sitting in a room. And they didn't question me, and I was just sat there thinking what's going on. And fortunately, purely by luck, I know the Commander-in-Chief of the Frontier Constabulary, and he happens to be from the Swat Valley, which is where I was. So when one of the police came in, I just said, is Johnny around? They said, Johnny who? I said, Johnny Milk. And he looked at me and said, "The Johnny Milk?" And I said, "Yes, my very good friend." He said,
wow.
"Cup of tea, cake."
So went from prisoner to royalty nearly.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You got treated well.
You never tell.
Have you ever been arrested in Sligo, so?
Not in Sligo. In Cork, I've been brought in by the police. And Drumshambo, they brought me in. And
this is map related as well.
Yeah.
Now.
In Drumshambo, this fella called, I can't remember, Pat, I think his name was. Cop basically arrested, well, he didn't arrest me. He brought me to the police station and made me stay there for a couple of hours and took my maps and was saying he was going to confiscate them and this sort of thing.
But you got away with them again?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So then when did you finally come back to Sligo itself? After you traveled the world, when did you come back to Sligo and settle here then?
Around about 2000 I came here.
Okay. And
because I've been coming here all my life. Since the age of 2 I've been coming here. 1958 was the first time I was here.
Okay. And so then you started to draw Sligo. And as I said, we've all seen them. But
well, Sligo was growing so much because between about 1996 and say the end of the Celtic Tiger, which is probably about 2008, 2009, Sligo grew, I don't know, 40 odd estates.
Yes,
some small and some big, you know.
So you had more things to draw.
Had 11 new estates, for God's sake.
Right,
you know?
okay. And so you've been drawing these maps for years, and I know that you now have a new product coming out as well, which you were showing us earlier. So we might let you
as
have
luck would have it. As luck would have it. Here's one I prepared earlier. I'm making. Oops, upside down. I'm making hand-printed limited edition maps of, you guessed it, Sligo. And this one is Sligo art and architecture. So it has all the buildings, including the cathedrals, and it has all the murals.
I see. You have the Sligo style.
The Sligo style over here. That's right.
Yeah, little piece. Yeah, and then I know you've handed these to us as well. This is
that's the pubs of Sligo. Yeah, that's the pubs of Sligo. Funnily enough, I've done a new version of that because the images didn't come out very well in that one.
Okay, but you're going to have these available.
I sold my first copy of this today to a friend called James.
Very good.
And it's basically all the pubs, and it's got Loch Lynch. Can you see Loch Lynch?
Okay.
Do you know Loch Lynch?
No, I'm a blow-in now, so you have to
everyone
explain
in Sligo knows Loch Lynch. But basically, I was photographing McGlynn's, and he was stood outside there, so I took a photograph of him.
And then you put him in on your map.
Stuck him on there.
And you've one other map I know as well here.
Oh yeah, this one is Strand Hill and the Calera Peninsula.
Yeah, okay, well,
and this
popular.
one has 2 mermaids on it, as you can see. One of them playing the Bowron, the other playing the harp.
As they do.
And there's a little inset map here of Strand Hill. It's all done oldie worldy style. But the main thing is they're hand printed and they're signed and it's numbered. This was a proof. Okay, and I have my own emboss here, John the Map.
So these are a limited edition.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
But you told me as well, I know this from chatting earlier on, you can buy them framed or buy them just kind of as a loose print as well.
Well, I'm selling the prints on their own for 30 euros and the frame ones for 100 euros.
Okay. So if people want to buy them, is there an email?
SligoMusicians@gmail.com.
SligoMusicians@gmail.com, and that email will come back a little bit later on. So back to John. Now we've talked about your mapping, and a thing I suppose I've known you even more so for in the last number of years was your love of Sligo music. So for anyone that doesn't know, John has set up a website, SligoMusicians.com, for how many years now, John?
6 years now.
6 years. It feels longer because I've seen the gigs for longer. And you basically upload every gig in Sligo on this website. You do it voluntarily and like no money involved at all. You just love just doing this. And like, what does that involve work-wise for you on a normal week? Like, how much effort?
Generally 15 to 20 hours a week.
Wow.
Most of it's on the phone.
Chasing
calling
people.
and calling them over and over and over again. And things are constantly changing in Sligo.
No, of course.
Sligo is a huge music scene, far bigger than. I mean, it's about 1/3 of the music scene of Dublin for a population that's 1/75 of.
Like it is, and I mean, I'm a blow-in myself, but like in my life in Sligo, it's just everywhere you go on a quiet Tuesday night, you could have 3 brilliant gigs happening. In 3 pubs. Like it's unbelievable. So I was going to ask you about the headaches of running it, but it is chasing people. So if anyone's listening that owns a music venue in County Sligo, or any musicians, if John asks you, he is only trying to help and promote. So maybe give you back the text, and you can't do it off your smartphone. You have to cycle home
on the computer,
cycle home on your trusty little folded bike, which is famous around Sligo as well. So again, if you're uptown and someone texts you, "Oh, I have a gig on," you will drop everything, go back to your house. Like, I mean, it's unbelievable to think the level you've done.
But I live close to town, so it's fine.
But still, I mean, it's a great effort, and I think, I suppose, on behalf of anyone in that scene, like, you're a credit to the town, and it's amazing what you've done. And as I said, it's such a promotion for the town. How many gigs can be on in town in a given week?
In the winter, generally, we'll have about 90 live gigs a week. In the summer, it might go up to 140, 150, 160. Depends what's on. Sometimes in the summer, we have 4 or 5 festivals running concurrently.
Wow! And
we have so many festivals. We've got the Jazz Project, we've got Carja, we've got Sligo Live in October.
Yeah.
And at the Shanty Festival.
And you will, like if you're on John's page in those weeks, it's like crushed up. There's so much stuff in there.
I try to fit into an A4 shape.
Yeah.
So 90 gigs in an A4 shape you can just about do.
Yes.
But if it goes to 160, I have to squeeze it all up. You can only read it. You know?
Yeah. But again, people can go in and zoom in. At least they're there.
That's right. Yeah.
And you don't just showcase what's on in County Sligo itself. If there's a Sligo musician kind of anywhere in the world, you'll cover as long as they tell you.
Yeah. Well, I basically have to go online and go to their pages, and so because especially around Paddy's Day. Lots of Irish bands are playing worldwide. Dervish will always do an American tour.
Yes.
2 or 3 weeks either side of Paddy's Day. And so I actually have the gigs and where they're on. Now, in the old days, I was doing it in Flash. And Flash has now been disbanded by the internet, unfortunately. But and so they're all live links. So if you're on a computer, you can just click on it, it would open up that page.
Oh, so bring you directly to the details of the gig.
Yeah.
So not only are you listing them, you're now putting links
to
everything.
I can't anymore.
Oh, with the Flash. Okay. Well, we'll see if we can get
some. If I was just doing hotspots, it'd take forever. It'd just constantly changing the shape of them.
Yes. Well, we might have some web designer watching in that might be able to help John with that. And
well, there was a couple of people saying we should turn it into an app.
Absolutely.
But most people think making an app's easy. It actually costs an awful lot of money.
It takes a lot of work for sure.
Yeah.
And during the last lockdown, I know you're a lover of Sligo gigs, but no more than the rest of us, we all missed the amazing live music scene here. But you took on a whole new side to that project. You put on loads of live streams, lockdown live streams.
Yeah.
How many gigs did you put on?
I'm not sure, about 150.
150 in the last year,
since
March last year.
Yeah.
Wow. And they were nearly all for charity as well.
Well, what I did was I contacted the White Hag and also the Lockgill Distillery.
Yes.
And they gave me free samples for the musicians. So initially, I was giving bottles of whiskey or free White Hag beers to the musicians.
Yes.
Occasionally some money if it was a charity gig and we had some money financing. Most of the time it's just beer. And then we would have different charities, usually local charities, sometimes national charities.
Okay.
But for instance, we ran the Shanty Festival last year in mid-June and we raised, I don't know, about 5,000 for the RNLI. And we've done various festivals for instance, the Sligo Neurology Support Centre, Declan Waltz's charity. And we've run a couple of festivals. Then we ran one in, what was it called now? We ran a Valentine's Day special.
Yeah, I remember.
And we ran a Christmas festival and various things.
And do you have any idea roughly how much you've raised in the last year?
Some in the region of 50,000.
So 50,000 and over 100 or so gigs.
150 gigs.
150 gigs. And again, in fairness, we have to give credit to a lot of the musicians. Most of them.
I'm not playing.
Yeah, I know. But what I mean is like they gave voluntarily of their time. And okay, they got a couple of beers, which is great. But I mean, they put in the effort to do that as well. And I think we're all in agreement that it would be so good to see the music scene back as soon as we can. You know?
Of course, yes.
And I think that at the moment there's everyone saying there's guidelines. So guidelines are just that. So maybe some places can start doing a bit of music again.
Well, this weekend I've got Owen Shroy, Aileen Concannon and Shane McGowan playing on the McGlynn's page.
So it's on the Facebook page?
On the Facebook page of McGlynn's. But I've spoken to Dara McGlynn. He's going to then live stream it through to because he'll have people
he has his beer garden out the back.
His beer garden, yeah. So basically, while they're playing, they'll be directly connecting with people, and hopefully, some people will be on the phones.
So if you get to McGlynn, that's one example this week's, and that again is that raising money for charity as well.
Yeah, that'll be for hospice, Northwest Hospice.
So again, it's all amazing. So if you're in McGlynn's, you'll be actually able to hear the feed that you've organised in the back. So it'll get to feel a bit more like the live music you're trying to. Amazing. And then on top of all of that, I know you talked to me a few months ago about an idea you had of maybe to try and get the music back in the pubs again. Now,
that's another thing I've been trying to do.
Yeah, so like tell us a bit more about what this might be.
One of the big problems is the so-called wet pubs, the ones that aren't even open at the moment, that don't have that second stream of income from food and so on.
Yeah.
They're unfortunately the ones that do most of the really good music, usually the early week sessions. So you have Shamey O'Dowd and Kieran Quinn's Trad Fusion gig in Connolly's. You have Brian McDonough, Rick Epping, Leonard Barry, Philip Duffy playing trad in shoots. You also have No Crows playing in shoots.
That's a Tuesday, isn't it? Or Wednesday?
That's Wednesday,
Wednesday, yeah.
So, I mean, they're three of the biggest gigs of the week. And by so I thought I switched this off.
This must be a musician ringing, John.
I just switched this.
Someone say, John, I have a gig tonight. Will you put it up on the website?
Sorry.
We did tell John.
That was Owen Troy.
Owen Troy, and he's one of your biggest players on all these live gigs. He's raised the most out of anyone. So Owen, we'll come back to you in a minute, Owen. And he's ringing again. Now, this must be very important for Owen. We knew in the first show...
How do you switch this off?
Something like this. Owen Troy, what are you at? We don't care how much money you've raised for charity. No, we have it off now. So your new project is to try and get music back into these small pubs that don't have a revenue stream of food. Okay, so what is it you're looking for? Are we looking for sponsors to do this? Because the pubs, it wouldn't be maybe in some of their budgets to pay for live music because there's a restricted crowd in.
Yes, that's
so
right. Yeah.
You were kind of trying to drum up some support.
Well, the basic problem is that a publican that has social distancing, say like a place like Shoot the Crows, one of the biggest problems they've got is that there's a really limited number of people you can fit in there. Now, Ronan's opened upstairs to get more people in.
Shoot the Crows.
In Shoot the Crows, yeah. And he's had to split the front snug into two. Just to get more people in, you know. And so it means he's getting a quarter of his previous custom. Okay. And the last thing he needs is a bunch of musicians taking up a whole table.
Well, I mean, it's
he's then got to pay and give free beers to.
Yeah,
so I've done a deal with the White Hag's going to produce maybe small kegs and give it to the pubs that are doing the... Doing the
Owen Troy's busy again.
Owen Troy said it again.
So you're looking for businesses, maybe, or individuals that might sponsor.
That's right, yeah.
Now, again, this mightn't happen yet. We're waiting on restrictions. But maybe in the coming months, you're trying to put a setup in place that people might say, well, I'll donate maybe 80 or 100. Yeah. That will just put a musician back in a gig and provide a bit of music for those pubs. So again, how do people... If they want to support you on that, how can they? I presume it's the same email again, sligomusicians@gmail.com. That is a great email to have in this town. You know, so that's how people can get in touch with you with that. Well, John, I could literally talk to you for about another hour or two, no question about it. And I'm glad to have brought you on the show because even in my involvement in things in town, I've just seen the work you've done for years, and I know that not everyone maybe understands what you do or how much work is involved and the amazing work you've done for charity. So I suppose on behalf of Sligo, thanks very much. And don't forget his beautiful artwork projects as well. That's sligomusicians@gmail.com. They're beautiful signature pieces. So John, thanks for coming. And we'll see you hopefully soon at a gig in town. Thanks a million.
So elbows?
Yeah, elbows again.
Cheers, Brendan. Okay.